Hello, you're listening to E-Bible Fellowship's new open form excerpts, and now we present the following excerpt.
Welcome to our program. Please go ahead with your call.
I was listening to your Psalm 37 study last Sunday on web radio, and I think when you got to Psalm 37:20, could you please read it?
Psalm 37, verse 20, but the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Jehovah shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away.
Yes, I heard you explain that the only acceptable perfect sacrifice that's consumed will be acceptable by God, will be Christ. And it reminded me of Genesis 15, where the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. And my question will be from verse 9, Genesis 15:9.
Genesis 15 and verse 9, and he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon.
Okay, so there are 5 animals, which reminds me of atonement. And the 3 animals were divided. The turtle dove and a pigeon were not. So I just assume they were placed, these last 2, turtle dove and young pigeon, were placed against each other because they were not divided. So then that will be 8 pieces, if that means anything, because the heifer was divided, she-goat was divided, ram was divided. So that would be 6 pieces. And then turtle dove and young pigeon, that would be 8. And so the one question is, why? What do they mean spiritually? And then the other question will be from verse 17.
Okay, verse 17, it came to pass that when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces.
And that's what made me thought of, like if we could tie Psalm 37 to this, verse 17, the burning lamp, which is the furnace.
Yeah, God moved Abram, he was called Abram at this time in Genesis 15, to offer these sacrifices. It's basically sacrifices. And you're right, since they're divided in the midst, that would mean for the 3 animals, you would have 6 pieces. And for the other 2, the turtle, dove, and pigeon, they were not divided. So you would have 8 total. And the number 8, it's close to 1 as far as the weekly cycle of things. There's 7 days, and the 8th day we come back to the first day. In the Bible, God does tie 8 to salvation. There was Noah, his wife, his 3 sons and their wives, 8 souls on the ark. In the New Testament, they're called few, 8 souls, few, and the few identify with the elect. Many are called, few are chosen, and the elect are saved. The elect are saved. So there's salvation that we can see, and even a male child born in Israel was to be circumcised the 8th day. The circumcision points to the cutting off of sins, and so there's a figure there as well of salvation. And given our present circumstances, I've said this before, where we know that the Lord speaks of 1 day as 1,000 years. And if we were to, now that's in relationship to the flood. And from the flood date of 4990, we know 1 day as 1,000 years, as God said to Noah, yet 7 days. 7,000 years from that date, and the door to heaven shut, May 21, 2011. And 2011 was the 7,000th year since the flood. But if we were to just consider that from creation to the flood was 6,023 years, and then the world was destroyed by water of the flood. And the first day of the week is Sunday. And so if you are looking at it in millennial terms, creation and the first 1,000 years would be the first day, Sunday. And then you could go second day, Monday, another 1,000 years, so forth. And you would come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 days, 6,000 years. And what happens after a full 6 days? Then it turns to the seventh day. And in the Old Testament, at the time of the flood, seventh day was Sabbath. It was Sabbath. And so there was the 23-year tribulation period tacked on, and the world was destroyed by water 6,023 years from creation. There's a verse in, I think it's 2 Chronicles 36 and maybe another place, that says, as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath. And tribulation is period wherein there's desolation. So that could be in view by that 23 years. It's a keeping or an observance of Sabbath. And then God judged the world, destroyed the world with water on the Sabbath of the Old Testament on the seventh day. Well, you start counting again. You start counting again after the world's destroyed in the flood, 4990. It's like a new world. And this time we definitely have biblical permission to go 1 day is 1,000 years. And you go 3990, that'd be day one. Again, day one is Sunday, because you're starting over. It's like the first day of the week, day one, Sunday, day two, day three, day four, day five, day six. Day 6 or 6,000 years would have been 1011 AD. Oh, but it wasn't God's plan. There's reasons for that, to destroy the world again after 6 days. One reason, or one thing we can consider, is in 1011 AD, when spiritually, in millennial terms, it went from the 6th day to the beginning of the 7th day, right? The 6 days is complete, 6,000 years from the flood. Yet in the New Testament, and it is the New Testament side of the cross in 1011 AD, the 7th day is no longer the Sabbath. And so God does not keep Sabbath as he did the first time with destroying the world by water. And so it continues to count. It continues to count over the course of the 7th day, 7,000 years up until 2011 AD. And then in 2011 AD, the full week, the full 7 days is complete, and Judgment Day comes as the day changes, as it were, millennially speaking, to the 8th day. The 8th day, the first day, once again comes around, and this time, the first day of the week, Sunday, is the Sabbath day. It's the Sabbath. So the Lord, whether this is accurate, is certainly true. When God destroyed the world after 6,000 years, if you look at it as a day as 1,000 years, that was Sabbath. And when God brought judgment on the world on May 21, 2011, fulfilling a full 7,000, the week completes. Well, now it's, as it were, the Sunday Sabbath, the first day of the week. And again, judgment. And how long do we go from the flood to what biblical evidence is pointing to as the end in 2033? 7,023 calendar years. Fullness of years, thousands of years, till you get to Sabbath, then a tribulation period or desolation period, because that which lies desolate keeps Sabbath. And then you come to the likely end according to biblical evidence.
Thanks for watching, and be on the lookout for more new open forum excerpts that will be added periodically.